Welcome back to the Adventures of the Monad, which will look at life, the universe and everything. My name is Kazim Kamal-ul-Rahim. In this series I ask the question, where do we come from, who are we, and where are we going? I post one presentation a week. Please subscribe to my site and hit the bell icon for notifications of future videos. You can also leave comments and join in forum discussions on my website. In our investigation into the envelopes that surround a monad as it evolves, we have identified 3 planes of matter specifically. These are the physical plane, the emotional plane, and the mental plane. We have also discussed the existence of triads. These are the atoms and molecules that the monad uses to focus its consciousness into the cosmic physical universe. The name triad implies the number 3. I wish now to look at another way of delineating 3 levels or stages of development. I call this the 3 selves. One way to visualize the first, second and third triad is to think of them as a ladder. This ladder is used by the monad to climb from the 49th, the lowest plane of matter, to the 43rd plane. These are the 7 planes that make up our solar system. These 7 levels can be thought of as rungs of a ladder. The Bible called them Jacob's ladder. Another way to conceptualize the progression of the monad through the solar system is to view the process from the consciousness perspective. Rather than having 3 triads made up of physical atoms and molecules, you have what is known in esoterics as 3 selves. The first, the second and the third self. The first self, or the persona. What is this? Minerals, plants and animals operate through the first triad. The acquisition of our 3 bodies has been a 2-stage process. Our etheric bodies were acquired when we were in the mineral kingdom and were subsequently built up in the plant kingdom. Our emotional bodies were acquired in the plant kingdom and built up in the animal kingdom. Our mental bodies were acquired in the animal kingdom and are in the process of being built up now. In the human kingdom, we are in the process of refining our 3 subtle bodies and building up our causal body. In the process of doing this, the gap between the first and the second triad is bridged. When a monad becomes self-conscious between the animal and the human kingdom, it can be described as a self. The whole first triad, in the case of the human, is called the persona. This can also be called the self, the first self. The persona includes our mind found in the mental body, our emotions present in the emotional body, and our feelings present in the etheric body. These 3 bodies all operate through the physical body. The physical and the 3 subtle bodies are all enclosed within the lower causal body. The greater causal body is located on the second triad. The part of it that descends into the first triad is called the persona. It should be remembered that the subtle bodies interpenetrate one another. In a previous presentation, I have stated that the etheric and the physical body are both considered physical in esoteric parlance. This is because they constitute one unit and are not separated during the incarnation. To do so will result in death. The etheric vibrates at frequencies that at present are not visible to the most of humanity. This will change in time. The etheric is a physical template around which the physical body coalesces. The aura of the etheric extends marginally beyond the boundaries of the physical body. This aura is what is photographed using Kirlian photography. The etheric can also be considered an energetic grid. The emotional body interpenetrates the physical and etheric bodies in the same manner the etheric penetrates the physical. 99% of the emotional body is to be found within the periphery of the physical body, with only 1% protruding past it. This can extend to about 2 feet. The same model applies to the mental body and the lower causal body. The size of the aura is determined by the size of the lower causal body, and this body is ovoid. The consciousness cannot function through the physical body. It is the etheric body that controls the physical vehicle. As previously stated, the physical and the etheric bodies are 2 halves of a whole, and only completely separate at death. In previous presentations, we talked about the various grades of matter. It should be noted that the physical etheric body is composed primarily of evolutionary tertiary matter. The emotional and mental and lower causal bodies are composed mainly of involutionary secondary matter, with a little evolutionary tertiary matter at their center. The envelopes of the bodies are also made up of tertiary matter. Now, here is something to ponder. Each body possesses a collective consciousness of its own. It is therefore an individual being. This could go a long way to explain why people can sometimes feel overwhelmed by their emotions, as though they are being ruled by an alter ego. However, it should be noted that the inherent consciousness of our subtle bodies is very low. Nevertheless, they can influence us, and they do. Secondary matter, also known as elemental essence, is evolving into lower states of vibration. It is moving towards the plane of physical matter. How it gets there is a topic of a subsequent presentation. The descent of secondary matter can be expedited by experiencing negative emotions. Weak-willed people give in to temptation, which is great for the elemental essences, but bad for us, the persona. Tertiary matter, found in the physical etheric body, possesses a higher consciousness than secondary matter or primary matter. It does not work against us like secondary matter, as it is evolving like we are. Secondary matter is involving. Simply put, secondary matter is going down and tertiary matter is going up. Tertiary matter can learn patterns of behavior. We set this up by repeating things and imprinting this on our tertiary matter. Practice really does make perfect. What then results is that repeated activities can be carried out with little input from the conscious mind. This allows us to daydream while we are doing repetitive tasks. Even though we are composed of 5 separate bodies during an incarnation, they are integrated so that we feel we are a single person. So now let's move to the second or soul triad. The second triad is composed of the mental atom 47-1, the unity atom 46-1, and the spiritual molecule 45-4. As evolution proceeds, we build and develop bodies around these successively higher centers of consciousness on that plane. Prior to the construction of what are physical envelopes on their particular planes, consciousness on these higher planes is only subjective. We are able to subjectively perceive half a plane of consciousness above where we are objectively conscious. Currently, the vast majority of humanity is objectively conscious only on the lower rungs of the emotional plane, 48-4 to 48-7. Even this is only possible during the sleep state or upon death. The second self is comprised of 4 bodies or beings. The highest, the upper spiritual body, 45.1 to 45.3, encloses the lower 3, just as our causal body encloses our persona. The lower 3 bodies of the second self are the causal body, 47.1 to 47.3, the unity body, 46.1 to 46.7, and the lower spiritual body, 45.4 to 45.7. Notice how the pattern is repeated, as it was in the first triad. You have 2 atoms and 1 molecule on the second triad. The permanent unit of consciousness in the lower spiritual body is a molecule, not an atom. The combined consciousness of the subtle bodies found in the second triad is called the higher self. The higher self is not fully developed in the vast majority of humanity presently on the planet. It is only the higher causal body that is currently active. In reality, even our causal body is on loan. It is loaned and controlled by our guardian angel. This remains the case until we evolve into the 5th kingdom. At this time, we become our higher selves. We have discussed that every monad is composed of 3 components. These are matter, motion, and consciousness. However, these 3 aspects do not necessarily display in equal quantities in all monads. In the same way, each plane of matter has a tendency to resonate to each of these 3 components in varying strengths. Looking at the first triad, the matter aspect is dominant. This is not surprising, as we are dealing with the lowest planes of matter. Looked at more closely, there is a gradient in the first triad, with the physical plane being the most engaged with matter, the emotional plane less so, and the mental plane the least of the 3. In the second triad, the consciousness aspect is dominant overall. There is a gradient to be seen in this triad as well. The causal body is the densest and most material in this aspect. The unity body is more focused around the consciousness principle, and the lower spiritual body is more focused on the energy aspect of creation. I show this as a gradient in the image that you're seeing. At present, the second triad can only be subjectively perceived, and then only at the causal level. We have to build a physical connection between the first and second triads. This happens when we gain enlightenment. The process is known as the 3rd initiation. Even after passing the 3rd initiation, the monad is still in the 4th kingdom. It is only after taking and passing the 4th initiation that the monad enters the 5th kingdom. It is at this time that the primary guardian angel is released from its duties and the borrowed causal body is dissolved. The monad is now evolved enough to create its own causal body, which it does in short order. On entering the 5th kingdom, the monad continues to refine its self-identity. Its consciousness expands to become part of a collective. This we called the soul group in the last presentation. This transition is traumatic for the monad at first. It has spent eons developing its self-identity only to release it, seemingly leaving it behind as it enters the 5th kingdom. This is not the case. Despite some of the commonly held views about nirvana, consciousness may be shared, but self-identity is definitely not lost. Once a monad reaches the 5th kingdom, it has cleared its personal karmic balance sheet. It no longer needs to incarnate into the physical plane to experience a material existence. The 5th kingdom is known in Gnostic literature as the kingdom of God. The human being is now superhuman. If it chooses to incarnate, it does so as an act of service. the monad usually comes as a teacher of humanity, which is still struggling through the fourth kingdom. Members of the fifth kingdom are omniscient, all-knowing, on planes 1, 2 and 3. At this time, members of the fifth kingdom may choose to join the planetary hierarchy. This group of monads have evolved well past the human kingdom, but still choose to serve humanity in its evolution. In the past, this hierarchy guided humanity, but about 12,000 years ago, humanity collectively banished them through our misuse of psychic powers, of our psychic powers, in fact. We have not been abandoned. Now the hierarchy works with humanity, but only coming as low as the etheric level of matter. They also work through incarnate adepts. These are advanced human monads who have selflessly aligned their egos with the will of the hierarchy. These adepts carry out tasks set for them. In this way, they fulfill their small part in the totality of the divine plan for the evolution of life on this planet. Now we have reached the third triad. It is composed of the spiritual atom 45-4, the divine atom 44-1, and the monadic molecule 43-4. Again, the pattern is repeated for this triad, housing 2 atoms and 1 molecule. As above, so below. The third self consists of 4 bodies. The upper monadic body, 43-1 to 43-3, encloses the lower monadic body, 43-4 to 43-7. The divine body, 44-1 to 44-7, and the upper spiritual body, 45-1 to 45-3. As was the case with the higher causal body in the first self, the upper monadic body is providing the envelope that contains the combined consciousness of the 3 lower bodies. This self is called the divine self. It is completely undeveloped in the human monad at present. As has already been discussed, in the first triad, matter is dominant. In the second triad, consciousness is dominant. In the third triad, it is the turn of energy to be dominant. The third self has already mastered matter and consciousness. It now has to master energy. This is difficult for us to even begin to imagine what it must be like to have a state of being that is beyond consciousness itself. But there is, and we will come to know it someday. Will equals consciousness plus energy. Therefore, the energy aspect of being is called will power. It is at this level of consciousness that the senior members of the hierarchy reside. They use their will to guide the lower kingdoms. They know the future because they help create it. I hope it is now becoming apparent that events on the physical plane have their origins on the more subtle planes of matter. Third selves are the collective consciousness of the solar system. Once a monad achieves the collective consciousness of a plane, this happens when it enters the fifth kingdom, it shares the collective consciousness of all the lower planes. It is now omniscient, all-knowing. Mastery of energy gained as the monad evolves through the third triad makes the third self omnipotent, all-powerful, on all the lower planes of consciousness and matter within the solar system. Beyond the third triad, where are we going now? Our monad is anchored in the 43-1 atom for its entire sojourn through the solar system. A fully awakened 43 atom dispenses with the 3 triads and continues to evolve through the 6 cosmic kingdoms above the cosmic physical. I have repeatedly mentioned that all higher planes of matter interpenetrate the lower planes. They occupy the same space but do not conflict with one another due to the different frequencies they vibrate at. I have also mentioned that there are 49 planes of matter. In the solar system, the monad evolves through 7 planes of the lowest grades of matter. This is known as the cosmic physical plane. The monad sitting on the 43rd plane still has 42 planes of matter to evolve into. The 43rd atom of the monad contains all 42 higher kinds of atoms. They are already there. It is just that they have not been activated yet. This is really where the adventures of the monad begin. The ladder back to the first plane, back to the absolute, comprises another 42 planes. These are numbered as follows for the whole universe. Upon reaching the first plane, the fully liberated monad has come full circle. It has gone from being unconscious primary matter to being fully conscious quaternary matter. Its consciousness now embraces the entire galaxy. The final challenge is to grow up and leave the universe, and to go into the infinite and create its own universe. In the next presentation, I wish to look into the topic of gods and angels. If you wish to read a transcript of the presentation or leave a comment, links to my website are in the description box below. Thank you.